Hi there and welcome to this video in the IBM Cloud Foundation Skill Series. This video is about placement groups. So what is a placement group? Well, a placement group is a way to ensure that virtual machines instances don't sit on the same physical host. So one of the issues when you're creating virtual machines in the cloud is that you don't really know for sure which physical host those virtual machines are being placed on. Now normally that may not be an issue, but obviously if you're trying to create an application and you need some high availability on that application, then if all of the virtual machines that you create end up on the same physical host, then if that physical host fails for some reason, then obviously you also lose all your virtual machines. So by creating a placement group, you can actually ensure that your virtual machines actually go to a separate physical host. So as you can see in this diagram, we've got a placement group and then we've got 5 virtual machine instances, and each of those virtual machine instances are then actually physically created on separate physical hosts, and that's effectively what a placement group is. So why would you use one? Well, as I mentioned, you'd use them for assuring high availability within a data center. So as I said, if you use a placement group, then each of your virtual machines in that placement group will automatically be placed on a different physical server. You also get a high degree of fault tolerance for larger deployments. So whilst you can only actually put 5 virtual machines inside a placement group, obviously if you've got a larger deployment, then what you can do is create multiple placement groups and spread your load across different placement groups. So for instance, you might have a placement group for web servers, you might have different placement groups for database servers, let's say. So if you've got a larger deployment, then you can also use placement groups to give yourself a high degree of fault tolerance in your deployment. So let's actually go and have a look and see how to create a placement group and how to actually put machines into them. Okay, so here I am in my IBM Cloud account at cloud.ibm.com. I'm going to click on Catalog, and what I'm actually going to do is create a virtual server. So I'm going to click on Virtual Server here. And I'm actually going to do this with the transient virtual server, but obviously I can create placement groups with any type of virtual server that I wish. So I'm going to click Continue, and well, I'm going to choose transients. That's already there. Got a quantity of 1 at the moment, so I'm going to choose my placement group. I've already got a placement group created called James Placement Group, but creating a new group is really simple. So all I need to do to create a placement group is give it a name. So I'm going to give it a name of Rules Placement Group. So when I create a name, then I want to make sure that it's actually meaningful. So it may well be that it's for a particular project. It might be for a particular type of server. So let's make this for Rules Web Servers Placement Group. So then that's pretty clearly that it's for the Rules project and it's for my web servers. So then all I need to do is just decide which data center that I want this to go into. So because I'm in the UK and close to London, I'm going to choose London. Choose the pod. So you may well get some options here of the pod. I've just got the one, and then the rule is spread. So what I then do is click Create, and that's my placement group created. Now you notice at this point that I can only actually create 1 server at a time. So I am going to create a basic server here. So it's just going to be a single CPU and single gig of RAM, CentOS. So I'm going to just leave all these things as a default. I'm going to click that I've read all the terms and conditions, and I'm going to click Create. So the create's in process, and if we then go to Devices, you'll see that my device here is now actually being created. So I'll just go and have a quick look at that. Okay, so it's actually being built at the moment, and you can see down here that it's actually in a placement group as well. So you can see it's in. So if you click on here, Rules Web Resource Group. So if I click on there, you can then actually see some rules, some information here about what's actually in the placement group. So here you can see that 4 or 5 instances are still available. So you can see what's actually in here as well. So if I go back to Catalog, and I go back to Virtual Server, Go back to transient virtual server again and click continue. So I'm going to put my server into the rules web placement servers group again. Let's see if this time I can actually create a few more servers. So I can create up to 4. So let's try 5. It's not going to let me do 5 because I've only got enough space for 4. So I'm going to change the name of this virtual web server. So I want 4 of these servers. I'm going to again stick with all these as defaults. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click create, and so my order is now in progress. And there we go. You can now see that I've got virtual server 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's named those for me. And then if I click through to one of them, then again you can see that this server has been put into the rules web servers group, and you can now see that the capacity is in use. There's 5 instances in there, and there's none still available. So if I now go back to catalog and go back to virtual server, so if I try and actually create another virtual server, you'll see that this is greyed out now because that actual placement group is now full, so it's greyed out and it won't even let me put anything in there. Okay, so that's very quickly showing you how to create a placement group and how to create servers into your placement group. So as I mentioned, there are a few limitations. So you can only add a virtual server instance to a placement group when you create the VSI. If you've got an existing virtual server instance, you can't actually move it into a placement group. You can only put up to 5 virtual server instances into a placement group. So as you saw there, I created 1, and then I created another 4. And then at that point, it wouldn't actually allow me to either create 5 new machines and put it into the placement group. And once I'd actually got 5 created and in the placement group, it wouldn't then allow me to actually put anything more into the placement group. In fact, the placement group was just greyed out. If I wanted to actually create some more space in the placement group, then I would need to remove the virtual server instance to free up some space. And if I actually wanted to take a virtual server instance out of a placement group, well, I'd have to delete or reclaim the instance. I wouldn't actually be able to just do something to move it without deleting the machine. I can't move the virtual server and keep it. I need to actually delete it to take it out of the placement group. So that's the third limitation, really. Okay, so that's it for placement group. It's a fairly simple topic, but they are quite powerful for when it comes to managing where your virtual machines are actually physically located. If you've enjoyed the video or want to ask a question, then please feel free to leave a comment. And other than that, we'll see you next time.